Our friend Thomas Tuggle, the Sheriff of DeSoto County. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Hey,
It's good
good
to
morning,
see you.
Paul. Thanks for having me.
I see. I just saw this. I didn't see this earlier on the map. We do have some showers moving through that area, so caught me off guard. I thought about you earlier this morning because we have that story of Reggie Bush. I said, okay, now here's a guy that Reggie Bush could be Thomas's Sheriff Tuggle's brother in statute, the way you guys are built. So, and I think both of you could go back and play ball, at least for a short period of time. I do want to ask you this: when you start looking at all the news and everything else going on, and you've been sheriff now for several months, is the job more than a person can handle in today's world?
No, sir. No, sir. Of course, there are challenges that come with the job, and being in DeSoto County with an agency the size that we have, we've been very, very fortunate. So it's if you build the right team, and I tell people, and everywhere I go, whether it's military or law enforcement, you build the right team, the job can be somewhat enjoyable.
Are you anybody working for you now that you've trained at MLEOTA for over the years?
About 65%, sir.
No kidding. So they knew you
Yes, sir.
Before you were coming in. I don't know if that's good or bad, one way or the other.
It's pretty good because they of course they understand my management style, leadership style, and we brought some excitement, a lot of enthusiasm to the department, and we're getting some positive feedback. I think it's great. My predecessor did a very good job of building the team, and what we're doing now is just going to take it to the next level.
How many officers do you have?
We have 360 employees, and we're looking at about 195 sworn deputies.
Do you need more?
Oh, absolutely. We can definitely use some more. Being so close to Memphis, we don't have the problems that Memphis and Shelby County is experiencing right now. Is because we are taking a very, very aggressive stance to dealing with crime, especially juvenile crime. So we had our town hall actually last night with all the police chiefs. It was all 5, 6 of us in the room. And we talked about this unified front that we have created. And that's very intimidating to the criminal element to see all of these municipalities standing along with the sheriff department, just giving them a warning. You can come to DeSoto County and commit a crime, but you do so at your own risk.
Yeah. How do people handle this, though? I mean, we were talking about when we listened to most of the people in the municipalities, not so much the sheriff's divisions, but in the municipalities, talking about most of the mayors. We're talking about things like that we've talked about forever. We're going to sit down and have a talk with them and ask them if they will do this. Understand, young man, you shouldn't be doing this. That doesn't work. It doesn't work to put up midnight basketball or, okay, we got to build a youth center. Those things don't work. Then they came up with the idea, in Memphis, Tennessee, looking at it, I'm not sure if they executed this, took it from some place up north. Let's give them some money, $300. We'll pay them not to commit crime. That must have really resonated with you.
It did. It actually created some problems. Actually sitting down with gang members is something that you will never see. We do. I'm not in those positions. I don't have the issues that some of these cities are having, but sitting down talking to gang members, you give them a status in a sense that now they feel like they have clout. It doesn't address the underlying issues. And also you talk about paying them, it could start a cycle of dependency. And that's something that we definitely don't need in this country, having gang members depending on the government to give them money. And I just think that it doesn't address the root cause of criminal behavior.
Thomas, do we have any idea what the scope of this is? I was thinking about it the other day. It's almost every function that you go to, you see there's a shootout. And I got to believe that almost like normal things that they carry with them now, and I say them, a lot of these teenagers, whether it's their iPhone or their smartphone, is a gun. And if that's the case, then we're talking about literally thousands upon thousands of weapons on the streets today. And if that's the case, where are they getting them? Where's the pipeline?
That's true. And one of the things I want to say, Paul, those headphones you have on your ears, that's because you and I are talking. But you got to look at the youth. Actually, you can start around 7 years old and all the way up to 26. Those headphones are on these kids or this generation ears 14, 15 hours, and they're listening to violent music, music that degrade women, music that promote violence. And parents are not sitting there having a conversation with their kids. So these kids are developing a mentality that this is their way of life. And when they encounter law enforcement, they've already been told that we're the bad guys, but through some of this music that they're listening to. So it's going to take community engagement. And what I mean by community engagement is if you're a mom, you're a dad, and your 13-year-old kid is not in the house at 2 a.m., you need to call us. And the first question I'm going to ask is, the last time you saw him, what was he wearing? Because that's going to be a suspect in some of these crimes that are being committed in these cities. So moms and dads got to have the courage to say, hey, I can't do anything with this 13-year-old. Well, then let us do it then. Don't sit there and protect this kid when we tell you that your son just committed an aggravated assault on a 65-year-old female and took her car. Don't you come to me saying my son would do something like that, and I got the proof. That's the kind of stuff we need.
But, Sheriff, in reality, too, there got to be a lot of these, certainly single moms that are scared to death of their teenage son.
Well, just call us. I mean, that at least we know from the get-go what they look like, and that's where we can start when we start investigating some of these crimes that are being committed across the country. We're here, but I'm okay with the mentorship program. We're getting into our schools. That's one of the things we have to do, Paul. We got to get these kids at an early age. By the time these kids are in the 8th grade, they are monsters. And when I tell you monsters, no soul. They have been programmed. It's kind of like a Manchurian candidate that they've been walking around with this music and stuff in the ears. If you try to communicate with them, they don't know how to communicate with you. So we've got to start early. We're in the schools up here.
And the reality is that the sheriff's office and the police department can't affect change on a cultural change. That's going to take a long time. That's up to the mayor and everybody else, the families, to change that as far as cultural. You got to take care of the shooting that happened the last 15 minutes.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Absolutely. But we're being aggressive and we're being proactive. And I am very, very proud of the team we put together. They've had me in, I think, 75 classrooms since we took office in January. And we are holding these kids accountable. We're connecting with them with a leadership style that is called contingent rewards. It's not very effective in the corporate world or in government. But if you do this for me, we'll do this for you. It works with kids because it establishes a buy-in. These kids trust you. And that's the reason they're joining gangs, is they're looking for trust. They're looking for support. Well, we won't be their gang. We want them to look for support from us. And we'll be there. And it's working in DeSoto County. I'm just elated to see test scores going up. Our school system right now, we're not having a lot of issues in our school. And but the other thing is these parents are calling us now. And I think a lot of, I don't like to lean on it. I'm sorry. How
early are you getting into the classes? What classes are we talking about?
We're hitting the 3rd grade. That's
earlier than
yes, sir, 3rd grade.
Huh?
3rd grade.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you say the parents are calling you when there's a problem in the house? They're
calling us when there's a problem in the house. Our school resource officers are not only talking to these kids in school, they're actually going and talking to the parents outside of school. So that is an indication that what we've implemented is working, and these kids are turning their life around. I was at a summit with Mayor Musselwhite, Pastor Bartholomew Orr, one of our circuit judges, and they had some freshmen and sophomores from Hernando High School on a panel. And Paul, to hear these kids talk about staying away from drugs, staying away from drinking and driving, that's not part of their culture. It was amazing, and it gave me hope that this generation that's behind is actually getting the message. So some of the things that we're doing now is I can see it's working.
Have you had a need to put on a curfew, or you don't have a curfew, do you?
No, sir. There's no need here. We're not having those issues. Our law enforcement partners up here are doing a very, very good job of being seen, visible, what our approach is. And I said it on the campaign trail. If you create an environment that is hostile toward gang members, hostile toward criminal activity, they will find somewhere else to go. And that is exactly what we've done.
I want to go back to that pipeline, though. Where are these guns coming from? I understand a lot of them are stolen out of vehicles, and some are from their parents and things such as that. But is there a pipeline, people selling these guns?
Oh, yes, sir. They're coming from Chicago. They're coming from some of these inner cities across the country, just being cycled in here, coming through Atlanta. But also, most of them are just being these kids are just breaking into cars, they're breaking into people's homes,
Crazy.
and they're taking them, and it's just amazing.
I know one of the things that you're passionate about is also trying to improve the standards of officers once they do get out of the training academy, and I want to talk to you about that. Also, any laws that are making their way through the fast. I was going to say ending. We think maybe next week will be the end of the session, but any laws that remained that will affect law enforcement in the state of Mississippi. We'll talk about that when we return with Sheriff Thomas Tuggle coming up next. Back with the Sheriff of DeSoto County, the one and only Thomas Tuggle. Let's talk about this a little bit here as far as the training, because we talked about it before, even before when you were back with MLEOTA, that times are changing. Officers today, man, they're going to have as much classroom work as field training and everything else. Where do you stand on this one, and what do you think needs to be done going forward to the future in the next class?
Well, sir, it has always been a success. I know we're dealing with a different generation of youth coming to these academies now, but I still believe the most fundamental principle that must be maintained is discipline. If we don't introduce these new recruits coming through the police academy and basically introduce them to a strict form of discipline, we're going to lose some things. So, and that's pretty much where we're going with some of the stuff that has happened across our state that I'm not so proud to say that happened. But we have got to maintain discipline.
Well, Thomas, it is like everything else. When you are having a tougher and tougher time getting recruits, you kind of lower your standards, and that starts the ball just kind of tumbling down.
Yes, sir. Well, we're not lowering any standards. We're going to keep our standards high, and we're going to raise them. If you want to be a part of what we're trying to create, and I don't want to get into the possessive part of what we're doing, but if you want to be a part of what we're trying to create, you're going to raise your standards to ours, and we're not coming to you. We're not having a problem with recruiting. We're not having a problem with retention. What we have done is walked in and created an environment where these officers are looking forward to being a better version of themselves. And what that does, Paul, is similar to what the Marine Corps does. It challenges these youth to do a self-assessment of themselves and see, can I make that team? We don't need to offer them anything. We don't need to be giving them benefits and say, hey, if you come to us, you're going to make this kind of money. No, you don't have the guts or you don't have the strength to be part of what we've got. That's the mentality that we need to take with these kids. Yeah. Because if you start giving them something, just as soon as someone else offers them something, they're going somewhere else. But if you make them earn an opportunity to work with your team, they will cherish it. And that's what we're offering.
Once they're out there, though, we've never had this before. And again, we're talking with Sheriff Thomas Tuggle, DeSoto County. We've never had this before, being tested like they are by these so-called constitutionalists out there who, they say that they're out there to make law enforcement even better, et cetera, et cetera. But a lot of them are out there to make money, and they've been making some money. I mean, there are a lot of them that settle out of court, don't even go to court. If they're illegally arrested, and they just kind of slowly but surely get the law enforcement so mad they lose their clarity, and something happens. Whether they don't read them their rights, they arrest them illegally, they tell them they can't film here when they can, they're on public property. It just goes over and over again, and I've seen some of these people making $300,000 or $400,000. They don't even need a lawyer. Some of them are lawyers. But there's no reason for those fundamental rules and regulations and laws to be known by every single person who puts on a uniform before they get on the street.
That's why there's an emphasis on education needs to remain. I think that one of the bills that we're looking at that's going through the House now, it's through the legislation, I don't know where it is, it's House Bill 691, and it talks about the Standards and Training Board. That board needs to maintain an educational piece to it. I know that there's police chiefs and there's sheriffs that are sitting on it. I think the Attorney General had an officer on at one time, but I do think that there's somebody that needs to represent the educational institutions across the state, and they need to remain on that board because education is the key. If our officers don't know how to apply the law or interpret the law, then they can't enforce it. So that's one of the bills that I've been looking at, and I hope the our legislators hear me on this. We still need to maintain an educational piece or a member that represents the educational piece on that board.
Is it, and I didn't realize this, and I think we had a conversation, it's been quite a while ago, that there are a lot of things that are different in different municipalities as far as the laws in that municipality pertaining to the police department. When you stop someone, it is not standardized, let's say from the north part of Mississippi to the southern part of Mississippi. There are some things that are constitutional, but then there are some things that are the protocol or laws of that particular city. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Well, what we're having with the academies that are being that across the state, they're teaching things that the board mandates, but they're teaching a different style of it. And what needs to be done is, I think the Board of Standards and Training needs to have what is called compliance officers. They need at least 3 or 4 of them to go around and make sure these academies are teaching the exact same thing. If there's an academy on the coast and it's teaching traffic stops, the academy up in North Mississippi need to be teaching the exact same thing.
I agree with you. I think that's a lot of the problems right there. I'd love to continue this conversation, and hopefully the next time we get together, we can do that. Always a pleasure, sir. Thank you very much. Kudos and congratulations on your success so far. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. You need to get up here.
You got it. Thomas Tuggle, the Sheriff of DeSoto County. Jerry Turner's going to join us after news. That